Well, hello, hello. Good afternoon, Gwyn. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today on my platform, my YouTube platform.
I'm honored.
Gwyn, trust me, it's an honor and a privilege. I started this platform a couple of years ago, actually, and I called it the ESCI channel, which is acronym for empowering, sharing, connecting, informing, and engaging.
That's serious.
It is. It is. It started off with me wanting to share a bit about my journey. So I had some issues with my health a few years ago. And I started to share what I went through, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, in an attempt to reach other people, to engage, to share, to connect, to inform. And it's been going really well.
From sitting here, you certainly come through. You're looking very healthy.
We thank God, Gwyn. It's been a journey. It has been a journey. So trust me, when I was going through it, this would have been the furthest thing from my mind, to sit in front of a camera and to be vlogging about my personal details. That would have been virtually impossible. So that's how it started. I started to talk about various things that I'd gone through, tips that worked for me, strategies. And yeah, my journey with discovering natural remedies as well, which I felt would be a particular benefit to sufferers. And because Simone isn't just about health, I also wanted to use the platform to be able to engage with individuals, with people who I feel matter, movers and shakers in society who are making a difference. And
that's me. I matter, and I'm a mover and a shaker. Wow.
Sprang to mind, Mr. Jay Allen, and I decided, you know what, we have to get this man on board. We have to get him on the platform so we can hear direct from the man himself, get to learn a little bit more about him in terms of who he is, what he does, his passions, highs, lows, and that sort of thing. So I really am truly grateful that you took my call, firstly, and that you agreed to come on board. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. After 60 years, I have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So whether we're going to fit it all in, let's see.
Indeed, indeed. And I see you've got one of your favorite guitars there.
Yes, my friend Pierre, he has about 60,000 guitars. So this is one I've chosen.
That's the one.
We're in Mill Hill, and I'm right in his flat. So we also have another friend of his who is now my production assistant.
Amazing, amazing.
All the lighting and sound, yes.
You've got a proper machinery going on there. I just love it. Perhaps we'll get to hear a little bit more about that later on.
Yes.
Well, Gwyn, we can play it one of two ways. We can go straight in and find out a little bit more about who Gwyn is, where you started off, or perhaps maybe you might want to just tease us with a little intro performance with the instruments I see there in your hands.
Yeah, this is a really nice guitar, and I'll tease you. I'll tease you with the first song that I played on the gig that Pierre was at. It's called Ain't Got the Monday Blues. There's always an introduction to a song, why you wrote the song and all that. So recession came 2008. I lost my job, and I had a company car. Everything was going well. Suddenly, nothing. Yeah. And I think I went to take out the last bit of money I had in the bank, but I was kind of in a happy mood. And the cashier said to me, "Why you ain't got the Monday blues? What are you happy about?" And I thought, that sounds like a title of a song, Ain't Got the Monday Blues. So I actually went home, wrote the song, and came back and gave the cashier the words to the song. So here we go.
Fantastic.
Ain't got the Monday blues. It was a cold night and a rainy day. Had no coat or even a place to stay. Gotta find money to pay my way. Lord knows, to him I must pray. Yes, now I know why. I got no tears in my eyes. I ain't got much money to lose. Ain't got that Monday blues. You best be thankful for your daily bread. You got a place to lay your head, a change of clothes every day. He's my provider. And that's why I say, yes, now I know why. I got no tears in my eyes. Ain't got much money to lose. Ain't got that Monday blues.
I love that.
That
Great.
was cool with a few wrong chords there. New guitar, I think. I'll blame it on the guitar.
Blues happens to be one of my favorite genre of music, actually.
Ah,
Love the blues.
I cut it short. There's a little middle eight part. Na 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 na. But that's for next time.
See, now you're teasing. Now you're whetting our appetite. Could I be hopeful then that there's a part 2 to come after this?
You never know.
That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gwyn, so tell us, I'm curious, formative years, where did Gwyn start off? How did Gwyn's life come to be?
Wow. Well, I'll try and summarize. Gwyn started off by being born in Loughborough, and then went back with my parents when I was 4 to Sierra Leone. Did usual primary school, and then left when I was about 11, I think, and then did partly secondary school here. Then we went back to Sierra Leone and did secondary school there. I'm giving you just snippets of that, and then I came back to study architecture. Whilst I was in Sierra Leone, I was always interested in music. So I used to live in a place called King Tom, and there was a police band. So I'd sneak out the house and just go and sit and listen to the band that's playing. And there was cricket also around the corner. So I got really into cricket, even got called up for the national team, to play. And also further down the road, Sykes Street, I got into karate at the age of 19, I think, roughly 19. So, and I'm still doing that 40 years later or so.
Amazing.
Giving you my age there. So, so that's, those are the influences. I was always into dance, going to, discos in the afternoon, and not coming back to the next day and being thrown out of the house, the usual. So that's a quick nutshell.
Fantastic. So the singing part, I'm quite interested. Growing up in Sierra Leone, not a lot of people may be aware or may be aware, African parents can be quite fixed in their views in terms of what their children should do,
right.
what career path they should pursue.
Oh, yes.
How did that go down with Mummy and Daddy and Gwyn sneaking out to listen to the police playing their bands?
Yeah, well, they didn't know much about that. Karate, they didn't want me to get into, so I had to sneak to go and do that. Dance, I always danced. The dance with my sister at home. We used to win all the dancing competition in all the parties, and then later on, go to nightclubs and win dancing competitions. So they couldn't stop that. But yeah, you're very right in saying that I wasn't, encouraged to get into music because music doesn't make any money. And our parents were, you had to be a lawyer, doctor, and all that kind of stuff.
Indeed.
And I remember 92, my parents came to see me perform on Park Lane in one of the prestigious hotels. My sister was there with them, so I did a song, got a really nice applause, and the dad was saying, "Oh yeah, that's my son," and my elder sister, who's very mouthy, says, "Yeah, but you were the one that was saying he shouldn't get into music, you know. Now you're applauding."
Now it's all good.
Now it's all good.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so typical. So how did the architecture career feature alongside the music and all of that?
Yeah, well, I had an uncle who was Royal Institute of British Architects in Sierra Leone. When I finished school, I really didn't know what to do. There's an artistic side of me, but in Sierra Leone, you can't really do much with that. And, you know, and like you were saying, you know, they don't really take you seriously. But so I was very good at art and science, you know, drawing, you know, and art. That was my interest. But there's no way to express yourself in Sierra Leone. So my uncle, Ransford Yaski, you know, who didn't have a son. And somehow I think my dad said, you know, go see him. And he saw, you know, my drawings and my interest. And he started to school me back in, 1981, I think, or so. You know, so, you know, he'd give me, you know, some life drawings to go and do, maybe, you know, sketch some buildings, started teaching me, you know, in architecture. You know, then I started working for him. He taught me how to draw on the drawing board. He had a T-square by then and tracing paper, you know, like done on the computer.
Tracing paper, I remember that. You take me back.
Yeah, and so he, you know, poured out, he made me read books, talk about architecture, you know, also so it's 3 years with him. And I started earning a little bit of money, you know, started learning about design. And that really helped because that was quite pivotal for me.
Yeah.
Finishing what you do, you know, I've got all this artistic side, you know, and anyway, so that propelled me to come to the UK to study.
Amazing. That was like your early apprenticeship, having a mentor and an uncle.
Exactly.
Lucky. And these things really matter. That really is what kind of informs your start in life, certainly in your career.
Exactly. And sometimes, you know, people don't get that kind of break, you know, and if it's at a crucial point where you can go either way, you know, so I'm glad that my dad, you know, said, go see him. And you know, he's done, you know, I can only thank him for that.
Amazing, amazing.
So yeah, so how do I fit in? You say, how do I fit in? That's how it started. But it's always been good, you know, having a full-time life as a musician is not easy. And so I've really enjoyed being able to work as an architect and you know, and do the music as well. So most of what I do is funded by me. My albums are funded by me. And I have the freedom to just perform and not think that you need to, you know, be under the pressure to earn money making music, you know.
Indeed.
So it fits in, it has, you know, it's fitted in, you know, quite nicely, you know. And now that, you know, I have my own business, you know, I fit it in when I want to. Before, when you were working for different firms in the UK, you know, I used to have to hide actually in many ways that I did do this after work or even during work, because architecture is quite, you know, competitive anyway. You know, when you're working, so you're all there, you're all competing against each other, and then you've got music as well. I mean, and that happened, you know.
Really?
Yeah, it did happen. Yeah, I won't call the firm's name because they're probably still around, but I remember working for them, and you know, so I've been there maybe a year and a half, and one of the guys, you know, realized that, you know, anyway, got into my music, and he came down. I was performing at the Dorchester at the time. I did that for 2 years and 10 months. So I would do my 9 to 5. I go home and sleep for like 3 hours, see the kids, see the wife, and then I'll go do the gig at night, finish at 12 or so, and then come back and then go. So I did that for, anyway, this guy found out that I did it, and he really, Scottish guy, he really loved it. So he came down. And then we had some Americans that came in to do a job. And in the end, he told them about me. And these Americans were not that good clients, you know. They were really pushing their weight around. I was just sitting there doing my job. And when they came to the Dorchester and saw me, they were red-faced. They were so embarrassed. Like, this is the guy that has been sitting in the office quietly working away, you know.
There you go. Imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? How, I mean, just to digress slightly, it's funny how times have changed now, because like you say, back then you just focused on your solo career, that's it. You're not allowed to have anything on the side. Whereas these days, we are all multidisciplinary.
Yeah, you can do 2-3 things. Why not?
Yeah, it's absolutely the norm, really. I'm really keen though to, you mentioned 1981, I'm really keen to see how Gwyn kind of progressed through the decades, the 90s, and obviously with the war in Sierra Leone, and I understand there was a certain situation there. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, you know, married, 2 kids, working in the UK, you know, everything's fine. So I in 1998, my sister and I, my older sister and I, Andrea, and her kids went to my younger sister's wedding. We visited, and then war broke out. Again, I'm just giving you snippets because it should be a movie. Anyway, so war broke out, and then a friend of mine found a passageway for us to get back to the airport during the war and come back to the UK. So we started that journey. So we got to the heliport, and subsequently later, my sister and her 2 kids were airlifted by the helicopter. But the guys who were soldiers holding the heliport decided to take me hostage. They just felt like I had a British passport, and you know, anyway, for whatever reason, they decided that's what they were going to do. So I'll cut it short. So, you know, there was 3 of us that was held, got at gunpoint. They beat one of the guys. One of my friends that was with me was a bit drunk, you know, and didn't really care. He could have gotten all of us killed. Then they took the 2 of us separately into the bush to find out whether our stories correlated. You know, why were we there and all that. And so I was interrogated at gunpoint, you know, being circled, you know, and being, again, I don't want to go into detail, but being tricked into using the word kill so that I could be shot. And for some reason, the guy told me after, again, a long story. He told me after that the questioning was mainly to try and get me to use the word kill in any shape or fashion, and he would have shot me. Obviously, he didn't. That's why I'm here. But
I'm kind of curious. So the line of questioning, what he was trying to direct you in a certain way, to a certain thing.
This guy was a teacher. He told me he was a teacher at Milton Magai Training College. I can see his face today. And after, just before I got released, he told me what he was trying to do. He was just, you know, asking different types of questions, you know, just to trick me into, you know, saying, you know, oh, kill the dog, or, oh yeah, kill so-and-so, or so-and-so was killed, in any shape or form. He just wanted to hear the word.
How did you cotton on to this, Gwyn, to figure?
I didn't. He told me after. I just didn't use the word. I didn't know that's what he was doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your spirit clearly directed you.
God was there with me, trust me. And I've told this story. I've told it in a song on my album called I Love Louis. And there's a song called Nobody Knows the Troubles I've Seen, Nobody Knows But Jesus.
Yes.
And I tell this story in that. Have you got it?
I've got that album.
Yeah. So I tell the story of that. You know, when you're I mean, many things happened after, before we were released and after we were released to get to London. And as I say, it's 3 movies. It's not even 1. And so when you've got nothing left and you've got a gun pointed at you, you know, there's not much you can do except pray.
I can't imagine. So you were taken from the heliport that's the road. The heliport is just located off Atlantic Beach Road, if I remember rightly.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Because it's not there anymore. So you said you were taken to the bush. How long a drive?
Actually, it was just around the corner from there. Some bush.
Right.
And it wasn't far. It wasn't far.
Right. I'm guessing you were blindfolded and all of that. No,
I wasn't. I was just, you know, walked away, but I put into a car, walked away. When we got back, my friend was still there. They let him go. They let the other guy go. They still held me. And then, you know, I was held in a house for a while where they had all the weapons and they were eating, I don't know, about maybe 12 soldiers there, you know. So again, I had to just use my head, hang with them, you know, chill, you know. There was one guy that I could talk to, you know, and, you know, you have to find somebody who you can kind of, you know.
Relate.
And then, again, long story, but my sister was at the airport, frantic, wondering what, because the last thing she heard was, we're going to find out who you are, we're going to kill you. That's the last thing she heard.
Wow.
So.
And she witnessed you being taken away, effectively.
Yeah, from her, I was taken away from her. So anyway, she convinced the South African pilot who was flying the helicopter, say, when you go back, could you please look for my brother, blah, 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 blah. And that's what happened. He came back, he saw me at the end of the helipad, right, and beckoned me over, and they released me. I got in there and met my sister, and then we made our way, again, I'm trying to cut it short because of time. We made our way to Guinea, Senegal, then Gambia by air and by road. Wow. And just got to the Gambia in time, about 45 minutes before our plane took off to get the flight that we'd booked to come back to the UK.
Wow. How long were you held hostage?
Oh, just a day and a half. Day and a half.
So just a day and a half going, like it's nothing, like really, even an hour and a half, really.
I know. Well, if I start going into detail, we'll be here all day.
Goodness me, it really just blows the mind, honestly.
Yeah, and I swore I wouldn't go back. I think I didn't go back for 3 years. It was quite traumatic. I'm not playing it down, or trying to trivialize it, in any way. But it does take its toll on you, and I plan not to ever go back. I contracted worse malaria the week after I came back, was hospitalized for a week, so it's too many things happen.
I can only imagine. I mean, during the actual period itself where you're calling on all your wits and trying to remain calm and focus at the same time and ensure you keep breathing, at any point did you ever feel like this could be it?
Many times. I think you were more concentrating on staying alive, praying, finding out what's going on around you. Make sure you keep your senses. You're chatting to people, trying to get to know them. Try to befriend them, calm them down. And with the other two guys around, one was scared and the other one was drunk, and I was the only one, who was sober, and trying to control them so that they don't decide up, So yeah, exactly, yeah.
Wow. And you're amongst 12 soldiers, you said?
Yeah, roughly about 12, yeah.
So what would you say if there was one thing that kept you going? What would you say that was? God.
When you've got nobody around and nothing around you, who do you call on?
Right.
Even if you didn't believe, I heard many stories of people who don't believe in God and they get into a situation, that's the only person you can call on. So, and again, if we talk about the things that he took me through to be able to be here today, again, we'll be here all day. But he certainly came through, and I always want to honor that. It's not by me, my strength. I'm a karate 5th dan black belt. And I can beat all 12 soldiers. No, it wasn't that. I had no power. And God orchestrated so many different things inside that, 36 hours or whatever it was, to make me escape.
That you could come out wholesome.
I could come out, yeah.
Unscathed, effectively.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Mentally, I imagine, emotionally, that would have shaken you up for a bit, but
nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows but Jesus.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Glory, hallelujah.
Amen. Glory to God. Glory to God. I remember when I used to listen to those songs on the album, and yeah, like you say, you turned it into a story, into prose, and it's hard to comprehend that it was actually real life, and that really in a moment it could have all been so different, literally.
And to add, my sister lost her first child of meningitis because she couldn't get medication. That in itself is another story. So I did a recording live at the Dorchester, and there's a song called St. James Infirmary. And it's a very, dark, Negro, spiritual New Orleans, kind of song. And I dedicated it to her, to Lisette, who died. Again, another story.
Another story.
Of how, we tried to get her medicine, and, because you're not supposed to leave the house, go through at night to find the doctor, to get her medicine, to come back to the house, myself, and frankly.
Is this during the hostage situation you're talking?
No, this is before.
Right.
Yeah. So the war broke out a couple of days, and between those couple of days and when we tried to leave,
yes,
we tried to find medicine. Yeah.
Goodness me. So when is the book coming out, Gwyn? Because clearly you've admitted yourself there are several stories, and I haven't.
You're gonna have to write it. You're gonna have to write it.
Oh, we can talk about that later. Ghostwriting services at your disposal, for sure. I have a real ear and I can sniff out, a good story in a jiff. And yeah, there's a lot of material there that you need to share with the world. Really.
Trust me, it is. Yeah, I use, my music, my song, to communicate it, but also as a therapy, and there's nothing like music, to express yourself through, to use it to be thankful, and to heal. So
absolutely. So going forward, I mean, obviously the PTSD, I can imagine, was off the scales. How did you navigate that whole episode of your life? Because there's a genuine love there for the land that we call Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Gwyn is feeling like this is the country that nearly cost me my life. How did you bring those two together?
I didn't have any therapy after. I just dealt with it the best way I can. And I would say, like I said, I use music, worship music, just to let it all out. In my first, I'd say second album actually, Land of Milk and Money. Mm-hmm. There's a song, one or two songs there where, I remember, singing out. I think I was leading worship in the church, and I remember just, improvising and singing out. And maybe that's the way I've come through, being able to just let go of it, but, sing, through the stress, and pray and have, family around you, that pray with you. But I never had anything go for any therapy. And, and I know it took me 3 years before I made my first visit. So, but I'd sworn that I wouldn't go back.
You touch on a very interesting area there, because clearly this is something that would have affected your mental health, no doubt. And
you would know more about that. I don't know. I can't think of how I navigated it. I know, that I've come through and I've been back many times, and as you know, moved back in many ways.
Yeah, but I mean, had that happened, say, today, or certainly in this era that we're in now, where mental health is prevalent and there isn't that reluctance to talk about issues affecting both men and women in that respect, I'm wondering, do you feel that you may have taken a slightly different approach? Is it that you just
I think so.
Consider it, important enough for me to go and seek help, for me to go and seek help?
In hindsight, I definitely would have. I think I should have, and I definitely would have. Yeah.
But clearly, there's a lot to be said for other traditional methods, relying on family support, as you say.
Family, yeah.
And also instinctively knowing how to let it out. Because there's some people who just internalize that stuff, wouldn't know that actually it's okay to sing about it, it's okay to write about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it happens, unconsciously. You're in a safe environment, and with people that you can talk to about it. Your parents and friends around you.
Yeah, okay.
And then you find yourself, through song, maybe through a worship song, letting go, but certain aspects, of it, or that's whatever music does to you. And it's not like you plan it; it just happens. And then in hindsight, you look back, well, maybe in the first few months, I probably could have done with some therapy, or maybe even 6 months. That would have definitely enhanced the healing process.
Sure. We thank God. I mean, to look at you today, I would not have guessed, honestly. And even though you've just given me snippets, those were literally the headlines. I can tell. and I cannot wait to get the full details. I will definitely be coming.
The book, yes.
I will definitely be coming back to you to discuss that book project. I mean, we thank God, Gwyn, that despite that you prevailed and you're here today. Honestly, that's
Amen
testimony.
To that.
Testimony.
Amen to that.
Hey.
That's a title of a new song. Amen to that. TADAT.
There you go. I like it. I like it. And speaking of songs, I'm wondering whether I could make a cheeky request, because after that felt kind of heavy. I'm feeling like we could maybe do with
a light one.
With some kind of relief, I think, from your musical instrument.
Well, this is a song originally in Creole, our mother tongue.
Yes.
Which people looking at it could be called Pidgin English, Patois, broken English, whatever you want to call it. So this is what everybody in Sierra Leone speaks first before they speak English. So and this song is called Nasser, which means that's what they say, and you know it. It's on all three of my albums. I keep recording it. Okay. But basically, it speaks about people in your life saying that you'd never amount to anything, and ex-teachers, maybe relatives or whatever. And so I wrote this song to say they got it wrong, basically. So here we are. Nasser in Creole.
Love it.
So they say I no go better. So they say I no go land. They're not afraid for loud and tongue. They're not afraid for put we down. Waiting God say for you. It must come true. Waiting he say go be. He go be. You wait and see. So then say I take too long. But I for say I prove them wrong. They're not afraid for raise their voice. Just they make so noise. Waiting God say now for you. It must come true. I say waiting he say go be. He go be. You wait and see. Yeah. Waiting God go do for me. Yeah. Hey, you wait and see. Jesus Christ died for me. I am my way. That's what they say. Now listen, so noise. I don't make. So then say I know go better. So then say I know go. They're not afraid for how they talk. They're not afraid for what we do. Waiting God say now for you. It must come true. I say waiting he say go be. He go be. You wait and see. Yeah. Waiting God go do for me. Yeah. Hey, you wait and see. And Jesus Christ died for me. I am my way. That's what they say.
Thank you.
These guys, they really want to clap in here, but they're being so nice and quiet.
Oh, that's fine. They can join in. The more the merrier. Come on, guys. Love it. I don't want to be the only one enjoying all this.
They're doing that.
Even the dog's getting excited.
Even the dog.
I love it. I'm just so loving this segment. That was beautiful, Gwyn. Thank you. I love the spiritual side to it as well, because so just to do a very loose translation and paraphrase for those of our non-Creole speaking audience members. That's what I say, literally whatever you hear people saying about you, pay no mind. God's your back. I believe in Jesus. He's got me. I'm going to do whatever. I will prevail no matter what.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. That's why you're writing a book, yeah.
Oh, yes. I get it. I get it. And it's rather fitting because despite everything, the good, the bad, even those things which were involuntary, the whole hostage situation, you are still standing.
I am.
You have that inner strength, Gwyn, which nobody else can take away from you. The enemy is a liar.
Yeah.
Big time.
Nobody, yes, nobody can. Nobody can.
Powerful. It really is. So when you came back to the UK, I'm guessing you delved into your architectural career and did that for some time. How did all that pan out post, hostage situation and all that?
Yeah, I basically just got into the swing of things. I was working as on contract, basically. I'd have maybe 6 months. You make a little bit more money when you do that. 6 months here, a year there, or whatever. And then I was doing the Dorchester gigs. So this is like 99, 2000. As I said to you, I did 4 nights, sometimes 5 nights a week, playing the Dorchester, and it was pure jazz, basically, traditional jazz, standards and stuff like that. So yeah, piano, bass, and drums. And we were in this very famous room, with Liberace piano, and what the Dorchester's like, You can think of everybody, I was talking about that yesterday, that came to the Dorchester. I was chatting with Bobby Brown, and then standing there, and Whitney Houston walks up, and so I'm chatting to them, and then I realized maybe I should leave. I'm maybe not as as famous after 2 seconds, but Bobby Brown. Yeah, and I spoke for about 10 minutes, and then there was another time where it was Sting, and Sting started off by like, who's this guy? But he didn't know that I was a big fan, and we started talking music, and he realized I knew his music inside out. So I got chatting to him. George Benson turned up. Yeah, it's a great place to play, and that's why I honed my skills, as a jazz vocalist.
Sure.
Sounds like you want to ask something.
Can I just ask? I mean, you just dropped it in there when I was performing at the Dorchester. How on earth did you come by this opportunity? Not many people get a chance to perform at the Dorchester.
Well, so let me say this. So 1992, I lost my job because the recession, 92, 93, the recession came. Mm-hmm. And so I went for an audition to play percussion, which I do, and backing vocals. I got the job, and the job was to play at the Hilton Park Lane, which is where I mentioned earlier that my parents came to.
Right.
So whilst I was, and the Hilton is just almost next door to Dorchester. Yeah. So I would go in there, I can't remember why I went. I would go in there, and there's this guy playing piano, whatever it is. And I ended up like doing 1 or 2 numbers with him. Right. Then the manager saw me. And then I used to, in my break, half an hour or 45 minutes break, I'd run over and sing there. That's how I started, and go back. And then eventually when the Hilton packed up, they hired me at the Dorchester. I ended up being there nearly 3 years.
You see, serendipity. You're strolling past the Dorchester one day, you think, let me just take a look. Let me just go, mess around. Next thing you know.
Next thing I know, I mean, things happen, God definitely, if you stay in his will, he has your back. I'll tell you another story. This is why you have to write the book. Whilst I was at the Dorchester, again, at the Hilton, I'm singing, this black guy walks up to me very slowly, and he goes, I really like to take you to Trinidad and Tobago. I have a hotel there. I'd like you to come and sing. In my head, I'm going, yeah, right. I've heard it all before. So I said, could you come to my suite? No, do you come tomorrow so we can chat? So I said, yes. Changed my mind. I came to his suite the next day, Park Lane overlooking Park Lane. The guy is so unassuming. Anyway, cut a long story short. So he pitches and he says, he had a golfing hotel, Dwight York's uncle, who used to play for Manchester United. So found out later. Anyway, so he says, let me just find out, whether, they have a room for you. He calls the hotel. I'm trying to book a guy. We'll find some local musicians. Yeah, fine, puts the phone down. So I said, so how much, would you be able to do this for? So what I was getting at the Dorchester, at the Hilton, I times it by 3, just 3 at him. He did not blink. And he just said, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, all right. I'll get in contact with you. What's your email, blah, blah. I spent nearly 3 months in Trinidad and Tobago playing on an 18-hole golfing hotel, sending my money home.
Wow. Amazing.
So things happen.
That's amazing. That must
be. So if I go into a bit of Trini language, you understand? You understand why? You know, I have lots of friends there. I've been there about 4 or 5 times already. So let me know when you want to go down.
Oh yes, I've heard Trinidad and Tobago is a pretty cool place to go hang out.
That's a good place. I've been to Carnival as well.
Uh-huh.
Bass, Juve morning and thing. So don't let me go there now.
You do a really good accent, I must say. Man of many talents.
Too many times. Well, it's getting there.
No, seriously. Wow. That you see, this is the thing. There are just so many layers. So there's a Caribbean side to him too.
Oh yes.
Gee whiz, love it. How long was your residency at? I don't know if that's the right term. Residency at the Dorchester.
2 years, 10 months.
Okay, much longer than the Hilton.
Yeah, Hilton was about a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half.
Wow. Bobby Brown. I remember when I went to see him at Wembley Arena. Do you remember Wembley Arena?
Oh yes.
I don't think it's there anymore because that whole area has changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
it still there?
Yes, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there.
Okay, that was many years ago. That was probably late 80s, early 90s.
Pierre can see it from his window.
Wembley Arena, not Wembley Stadium, Wembley Arena.
Yeah, still there.
Okay, cool. That was, back then he was big. I absolutely adored him. The man had a legion of fans.
I can call him up and let you have it. No, not really. You probably wouldn't remember any conversation.
Seriously. Wow. Whitney Houston walking by, George Benson. I mean, how did that feel? That's surreal.
Well, we were starstruck. Herbie Hancock also turned up and played a blues, and I got a photograph of me singing with Herbie on that piano playing. So when he walked in and sat, to our right, I'm telling the band, it's Herbie Hancock, right hand side, guys, it's Herbie Hancock, because he was right next to us. Eventually, he came up. I'll share that photograph with you, with me singing. And Liz Fletcher, that's the name I was trying to remember. Myself and Liz Fletcher with Herbie on the piano and the band.
Wow. Pictures like that, for posterity. We have to find a home for it. The book, that's a done deal. I don't know about you, Gwyn. We're writing that.
I'm up for it.
Seriously, this is fantastic. Wow. So, post Dorchester, what happened next?
Well, quite a few things. I'm trying to find snippets. So post Dorchester, 1997, a friend of mine sent in a tape to Stars in Their Eyes. He didn't tell me because I used to mimic Louis Armstrong. So I was mini-cabbing during the recession. And so my friend gave me a tape. Remember, these tapes? Remember what they used to like? Stick in there. And I used to sing along to all Louis Armstrong's hits, and mimic him.
Yeah.
And he knew that I did that. And I think I'd done some kind of recording, some fake recording about me with me singing. Anyway, he sent it in to Stars in Their Eyes. Didn't tell me. The next thing I know, he gives me a call. Gwyn, I'm going to audition to go on Stars in Their Eyes. I'm like, what? So I was like excited, but I was like, well, I didn't apply for it. Just go. So I wasn't really under any pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the long story short, I did the audition, got the part. When they had 12 series, and then you have 12 finalists. So if you win your series, you go to the final. So I won my series, playing Louis Armstrong. Next minute, I'm doing Louis in the grand final. So that's one.
Amazing. Now that propelled you. I'm sure. I don't know how you, excuse me, perceived the shift in terms of your visibility, because I know for sure that propelled you. Certainly in the Sierra Leonean community's eyes, because my parents, family, friends, it became a talking point. Oh my God, Gwyn Jay, did you see him on Stars in Their Eyes? Matthew Kelly, was that the name of the host?
Yeah, tonight, Matthew.
Tonight, I'm gonna be Louis Armstrong. I remember it so well, walking into the smoke.
Yeah. With the makeup, and everything. Yeah.
Came back. Was it a wig? Did you have a wig?
It was a wig, a wig, and a bodysuit, the whole thing.
It was fantastic. It really was. The pride, the sense of pride that we felt, it was just on another level. So I don't know how that shifted or how that felt.
Oh, it certainly did. If I was telling the story yesterday or the day before yesterday. So before that, you're doing the Dorchester gigs, which is great. You're doing odd gigs, parties, weddings. here and there. And then you do the Stars in the Rise thing. And like maybe a couple of weeks later, you know, an agent calls. And one of my friends, one of my minicab friends was an agent. And he put me on his book. And he calls and he says, oh, they want to book you. So I had a friend called Magnus Skoll, and he was my manager at the time, you know, just in case calls started coming in. Cut a long story short, we did this rich guy's wedding, you know, went through my friend who was an agent. I did 2 songs for $3,000. Wow. Just seen on TV, you know, I had mothers there who just seen me, oh, can you sign here? I saw you, and all that business, you know. I'm like, thanks very much for the money, you know, I'll sign anywhere, you know. But yeah, and so from that, you know, I got the Blues Brothers official tour, toured around, and then went to the West End. Trying to think what else happened. But anyway, you know, so that kind of stuff happened. And then I think that propelled my second album, 2006. I wrote some songs about Louis, and then the I Love Louis Creole tribute to Louis Armstrong came out.
Okay, amazing. I love to see how the dots all connect. Stuff like that I just find so fascinating and inspiring, you know.
I haven't done an interview like this for a while, so even I'm putting the dots together as we speak.
Indeed, it's good to be able to kind of crystallize it in right. This is a good reference point, and that's,
yeah. But from then, you know, I've done quite a few things. I used to be an extra on TV, so I've done EastEnders, Men Behaving Badly, Desmond's, you know. So I used to do all that during the early 90s, you know, and then also the Stars in the Rise thing. And then so when I did the album, I Love Louis, that became quite popular because Alex Wilson as my MD, and it was a Creole tribute. So we did Creole from around the world, and I wrote new songs about Louis. And again, I got a call from an agent in LA who heard me. How did that happen? I can't remember how that happened now. Anyway, what happened was I got called to do an interview with BBC Radio 4, something to do with Louis Armstrong, his house, and so anyway, how I got it, I can't remember. But anyway, so I went online with the BBC Radio 4, and they were interviewing about Louis. So, and they were asking me about the album, what I'd done, and whatever. And then they didn't know who I was in the States. And then towards the end, they played a really obscure track called, I think it's called Sleepy Time Down South. And not many people will know it, you know, because it's not like Cabaret or Mac the Knife. Anyway, so they played it and they cut it short, and I continued singing it, you know. And the guys in America in Louis Armstrong Museum says, who's this guy? You know, because I did it exactly like Louis would do. Cut a long story short again, they booked me to perform in Louis Armstrong's house on his birthday, July the 4th, in Queens, New York.
Get out of here.
Yeah, on TV. You know, I went to the archives. They took my album, made it part of the archives. You know, I performed in his garden, and you know, it was a sellout. You know, so things just, you know, the dots.
What a blessing. Wow. But this is the thing though, Gwyn, your voice, the similarity is uncanny. It really is. You've got a fantastic voice anyway, but yeah, when you get into your Louis zone, it's...
Again, I don't know, you know, I'm not a professional singer, if you want to call it. I didn't go to, you know, learn voice or whatever it is. I think I learned from the guys at the Dorchester, playing 3, 4, 5 nights a week for 2.5 years with some of the top jazz musicians in the UK. You learn a lot, you know, from them, you know, and I did to understand how jazz from a musician's point of view, not just from a singer's point of view. But I guess, yeah, a lot of people can sing and they're not trained. You know, a lot of people can act and not trained, like Jennifer Lopez, you know. You know, she's a dancer and a singer. You see her on TV, you're like, wow. So it happens, you know, and I don't know how I got the Louis voice thing, you know. But I certainly, you know, have tried to, you know, work on it, you know, performance-wise and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Incidentally, what different genres do you do? So I'm aware of the jazz, the blues, obviously, a bit of gospel, spiritual.
Gospel, blues, soul, you know, high life, African, reggae, you name it. Yeah. If I can get away with it, I'll do it. I don't have any, particular, choice. That's why, my albums, you'll just have a feel of all of that.
Yes.
I don't try and, it's not, people may try to, pigeonhole you and, say, I don't really care, I just sing what I sing.
We're living
if
in
you like it, you do. Yeah.
If you like it, you do, right?
Yeah.
No, totally. But what do you do though to ensure that that voice is kept in tip-top shape? Do you have a regime?
Port. In fact, before I go on stage, my manager, Peter Conway, by the way, who's managed me since 2006 when I got my second album, he came in. Yes, to Peter. He came into my dressing room, and I had a bottle of port, but I didn't have time to pour in a glass. So as he walks in, there's me swigging a little bit of port, and he looked at me like, "Have I got an artist that's going?"
Do I need to be worried about this?
Do I need to be worried about this? So I always have a little bit of port, and funny to talk about how do I keep my voice. I don't really take myself seriously, but before a gig, yes, I try to, warm up. Port does help. Have water. But I don't like, la, 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 I don't do all that, business. I just make sure I'm warmed up, ish.
Okay.
But funny you should talk about how do I look after this. So here's another one. You're going to like this one. So I'm in Sierra Leone and I get a call from my manager. Gwyn, don't get too excited, but I've got a possible gig for you live at the London Palladium with Sir Michael Parkinson. I don't know if we've got it yet, but let me see. So anyway, he tries to get the gig. And around the time, I'm having problems with my vocal cords. Again, I wasn't really thinking anything of it. But anyway, the gig came through. I told him about it and he says, well, you need to come and, sort it out. So I came and lo and behold, I had a polyp growing on my vocal cords. And the doctor says, you can't do the gig unless you get rid of it. So, and you need intensive therapy or whatever it is to be able to sing like Louis in 4 weeks. So it's either I say no to a one-time gig, or I take the chance. Nobody knew except my manager. So I'm going through the whole therapy thing. We go to BBC Studios where the Beatles recorded 60-piece orchestra, BBC orchestra, and big band.
Wow.
So we go into the small piano room. It's the first time I actually sing because by maybe first 2 weeks, not a word. And then you do all the, whatever after. Anyway, we go into this small room, piano room, 4 other singers, producer. And that's the first time I actually opened my mouth to sing. That was daunting to see if it'll come out. Anyway, I toned it down. I wasn't even doing the Louis voice. I was just trying to learn my parts. The next day, or that same afternoon, we go into the main studio with the whole orchestra. I turned down a little bit. Again, a bit nervous. I got producer on my, Gwyn, you need to do this. I haven't got a clue that I just had an operation.
But you can do it.
So, I know. So the next day now, we go for dress rehearsals at the London Palladium. Meet Michael Parkinson, blah, blah, blah. Orchestra is playing. I do the same thing. The producer is still pushing me to give it, In fact, I was a non-entity. And you had Joe Stilgo, 2 other ladies who were very well known, West End, and one that's just signed. I'm just a non-entity, really. So they were really asking my manager, "Are you sure this guy can do this Louis thing?"
Oh my goodness!
On the night,
pressure.
Yeah, he didn't tell me all of this. So on the night, I turn up. Gwyn Jay Allen on my dressing room door. I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. I've got my own toilet. I got, my own lounge to sit down. I'm like, oh yeah, they're the business, I'm like, but then there's still the nervous, like, are you actually going to be able to pull this off?
Yeah.
Because they want to hear Louis. Anyway, come the performance. So imagine the stage. So you got the orchestra right behind you. Stage left is the 4 singers. Stage right is Sir Michael Parkinson and his son. So they interview him. It's all about his musical influences, who he's interviewed, who he's met. They interview him. He introduces the first singer, Joe Stilgo. He goes up, sings, I don't know, 2,700 people, I think, in the Palladium, I don't know. And they clap. They interview him, Sir Michael Parkinson, and again, next singer, Gwyn Jay Allen, who has an album. He takes my album, he shows them up. He's been to Louis Armstrong's house. I've been there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And Gwyn Jay Allen will now sing, We Have All the Time in the World. I walk onto the stage. Everybody's there. Yeah. My second line, I get a round of applause on my second line. That's when I turned the voice on.
Yes.
And I had goosebumps, I probably even nearly forgot my part because I was so nervous.
Taken aback.
I just said, that we have all the time in the world, all the Louis thing. And I went, time enough for life. And everybody just started clapping and we went on, but, and then I was like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, he's back.
Well, when you got to the middle part of the song, I had a hanky hidden in my jacket pocket. Yeah. I took the hanky out like Louis did. I walked over to Sir Michael Parkinson. I did that to my head. He laughed. The whole audience laughed. Did the song, finished, and the applause for the nonentity doubled.
Oh.
I went back and I sat back. And cut a long story short, when the gig was over, my manager came to me and went like, "You nailed it."
Did it?
I told him.
It. Wow.
So there you go. There's another one for you.
Goodness me, Gwyn. Really, who can manage to pull something like that off with the polyp on his vocal cords, or even though you were having therapy, but still? Yeah,
no, they took it out. I had the operation.
Wow.
They took it out, and I had 4 weeks therapy after the operation. He said, "There's no way you can do the gig with it." And they put a camera through your nose, down into your throat, and you can see it on the screen. I saw it there growing on my vocal cord.
Whiz. So from the point of the operation to you actually doing that performance, what was the time span?
4 weeks.
Exactly 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Gee.
Yeah.
See, with him, nothing
so,
is impossible.
Yeah, nothing is. So you could either be really scared and say, "No, I'm not going to do it because I'll make a fool of myself," or you really push yourself to the edge and really believe that God can come through and you can do it, and it went better than I expected.
I'm telling you, that is a classic example of feeling the fear, doing it anyway.
Doing it anyway.
What have you got to lose?
What have you got to lose? If you're afraid of something, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it.
Exactly. And that's where the whole faith thing.
I like the thing, do it afraid.
Yeah, quite. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, you might fear the worst might happen, but actually, on the other hand, what if it doesn't?
It might not.
It might not.
Yeah.
Imagine that applause. I can only imagine how you must have felt. Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
That is something. You mentioned earlier on Alex Wilson, another broad name. In fact, I understand he's playing this month in London.
Yes, he is. I can't remember where he's playing. He's my MD, and he's half Sierra Leonean, I think half French, half English.
Yes.
And a phenomenal pianist and composer and all that.
Yes.
And actually, he got me into the music, on a professional level, because his first album, 1998, Afro Saxon, I wrote 1 or 2 or 1.5 songs with him. And as a result, I toured with him. So that's when I started getting really professional. That's when I met Peter Conway,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I'm very close to the family, the Wilsons, and
yes,
I know that stock very well.
Phenomenal
caliber.
Player.
Top caliber. That's fantastic. Wow. So just moving along slightly now to when Gwyn decided to make the switch from the UK to Sierra Leone. When did that happen?
December 2009. It happened. I didn't actually plan to leave. The recession happened 2008. I lost my job. Again, you remember I mentioned, the song "Ain't Got No Monday Blues." It was around that same time, and so I went back because parents have, private school. So I went back just before Christmas just to take a break, and I realized the school, needed a lot of work, and I thought, oh, let me see if I can help out here, So I did one project, raised some money in England, and did a gig with my sons and raised, how much did we raise? I can't remember, something like, $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. And we did a building up with that. And then that morphed into acquiring a bit more land and, helping to extend the school and double the capacity of the school. So that's how it started, and then picked up, a few other things, along the way. So that's how it started. I didn't really plan to go.
Wow, 2009.
Yeah.
And
that's what, 11 years-ish, yeah.
11, 12 years later.
Yeah.
And still going strong.
Still going strong.
So of course,
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, along the way, you've gotten involved in other efforts. I know you got involved with the Ebola thing when that broke out in 2014. Is that right?
No, actually, 2014, I was, when it broke out, I was actually out. My dad died in 2014. Okay. I was actually out of the country at the time. Okay. I think Yvonne Aki-Sawyer was really the one that pioneered. Yeah. I'm working, volunteering, working with her, at the moment. She's doing a great job. But I didn't really get involved in the whole Ebola thing. Mm-hmm. But I, in Sierra Leone, I really don't earn that much money, if any, sometimes. Really, because I'm there serving, to put it that way. And I get a lot of fulfillment doing that. If the odd job comes, great, and yes, and having said that, I'm actually designing houses for friends and building it, so, but my focus is not like, to build a huge company or anything. It's mainly our school, and some work. But also, I'm also involved in the Ballantyre Music Academy. I'm part of the board member, which is performing arts. And so we help to train, young musicians, instrument and performing arts, dance. So I'm part of that board. So, I love doing that. I perform every now and again there, yeah. But, help them with that. But I'm also the Secretary General for the Sierra Leone Karate Federation. Oh, as you know, as I mentioned, I started karate back in '79. And so I'm well involved in that, coaching the national team, taking them to competitions, around Africa. Oh, and wow. We missed the Olympics, yeah, so when you think of that, so there's quite a lot to do. For sure. So education, a little bit of, architecture and construction, music, and karate.
You've mentioned karate a few times. I can tell that's one of your main passions. I mean, since '79.
Yes.
I don't know that much about karate, but what is it about? Aside from the fact I know it's great to have a discipline, especially for young boys growing up, and obviously, focuses your mind mentally, spiritually.
Yeah. You can do different types, of karate. It is self-defense, but it's more than that. When you speak, it's a Japanese form. The Shotokan is a Japanese form of karate, and I mainly do, yes, for exercise, self-defense, or whatever. And you can do different types of, karate. I don't get into the spiritual side of it. I get into more of the sports side and the more discipline and focus side, of it. And also help to teach, kids who, maybe young kids, who having, issues. And it's a very good way, to get them focused, learn about themselves, So I've been training for that long. I'm a 5th Dan black belt in Shotokan. But yeah, so it's great. So it's not, as I said, it's not just about, the fighting arts. There is that, but Victor Amara, he, is a 7th Dan. He was trained by one of the great masters from Japan and in Holland, and he's a Sierra Leonean. And the two of us, Nikai and Koso Thomas, we run that in Sierra Leone, and it's great. It's fulfilling. We've taken them to many different national team, but it also helps you, to stay fit, focused, and disciplined.
Absolutely. mentally, yeah, physically. It's a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here in the UK, as you know, we've had this issue for a long time with guns and knives, you know, the crime, particularly amongst our young boys. And I mean, it's unfortunate that we've lost you to Africa. It's a great thing that Africa have your expertise. But something like that, you know, we could do with figureheads like yourself here, just mentoring, you know, young boys coming up in our communities today to see that there's a different way, you know, that there are other disciplines to get involved with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of guys like me, you know, in the UK, you know, doing karate, boxing, you know, there's so many different types, mixed martial arts, there's so many different, and what that does, it means that, you know, you wake up in the morning, you know, you go and train, you try to train at home, get a certain standard, and that gets you into a routine. Yeah, you understand being hit. You know, when you're doing karate, you can do it to a point where you're actually not actually hitting your opponent. You know, you controlled. So that teaches you control. I remember a guy, you know, in Sierra Leone coming through, you know, wanted to learn, you know, karate, and I asked him. He was about 13, 14, and I could see, you know, in his spirit, you know, like he'd been through some stuff. He wants to learn it so that he can use it. You know, so by the time he started, you know, and he also didn't want to mix with the other boys. So by the end of a couple of weeks, you know, you get into, you know, the heart of his issues. You start teaching him. And for instance, he was very aggressive, so I gave him one of the top guys there. So, you know, you get him to express himself a bit more, and you realize that, okay, you can hit, but you can also get it. And how do you control that aggression, that anger? Where is it coming from? What's the source of it? You know, and then, you know, after class, you'll chat away, you find out about his dad, his mom, where is he living, what's he doing, you know, and yeah, I'm no expert, but you start to get underneath, and that's when, you know, when you've done it for so long, when they use the word sensei, it's about a teacher of life. It's not about, you know, teaching people to beat other people up, you know, so you get into more of, you know, who the person is, you know, you've got to know your student, and you've got to try and help them, you know, to be a better person.
Yeah, it's the personalities, like you say, it's the personality behind that young boy, because when he presented, you just see the facade. But of course, there's so much going on behind the background, you know.
Totally.
A broken home.
And you help him realize it. You help him find out where it's coming from, and that it's not good, and but also there's an alternative. Exactly.
And this offers a way. It's not always going to be the solution, but it's a start.
Exactly so.
Yeah. So I know that you're heading back to Freetown, Sierra Leone. Is it not tomorrow, the day after?
Yes, Friday, yes.
Wow. So what awaits Gwyn when he gets back?
Well, I wonder. Well, one of the jobs on site that I'm doing for a friend of mine, three-bedroom house, I have to go there and make sure that they've been doing things right. I'll just go back into routine and go back to school. There's quite a few things that's happening at school. The local church, which is probably about 15 people that we have at, you know, our local church in Godrich. So I lead worship there. So I'll do that, and then catch up on all the activities that I get involved in. But I do have one more for you.
You do?
Yes.
One final cheeky outro.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I do have a song, but I do have another one, which I'll just give again another snippet. So here I am sitting in Sierra Leone. There's a BBC guy who's a fixer for all the BBC stuff that happens, you know, in Sierra Leone. He puts me up for an audition against 6 other people for Romesh Ranganathan's, with him, you know, what's it called? The Misadventures of Romesh Ranganathan, where he goes to all these war-torn, you know, the countries, find out how resilient they've been, and, you know, try to, you know, alleviate all the bad press about them. And then they chose Sierra Leone. And in April, Romesh came down. We got on really, really well. And it's just the 2 of us and the whole program, you know. Wow. So this is how things just happen. I'm sitting in Sierra Leone. That's going to be on your TVs early next year.
You get a phone call.
I get a call. Obviously I went through the audition, you know, but I get a call from, you know, say, hey, Gwyn, could you could you do this? And it went down really well. So if you need to, we're on text now, me and Romesh.
We're
so
like
if
that.
you need to, yeah, we're yeah.
Speed down.
So if you need to get to him, you know who to come to.
For sure. Trust me, I'll be coming back. What's he like? Because he comes across as very quirky. He looks super bright, super smart.
I can't keep up with him.
Mean sense of humor.
Yeah, totally. But he's really down, as they say. Really, he's surprised and he's very truthful about, his feelings, and being Sri Lankan, immigrants, parents coming, here in the UK. So, and we just really got on. He's, very down to earth kind of guy. And I like a joke big time. I'm teasing, and he's up for that. So I was teasing him all the time. I was telling him, I said, when you're in Sierra Leone, I don't care whether you're from Pakistan, from India, from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, they call you Indiaman. So and then he started hearing it when we were walking around. Indiaman.
At least you prepped him.
Sorry?
I said, at least you prepped him beforehand.
I prepped him, yeah. So I was teasing him. You're not Indiaman. That's all they're gonna call you. He tried the local brew, Pio Pollo. I mean, it's quite funny, and so the banter between us is really natural,
Yeah.
The
Pollo,
things
is that the same as Pollo? Is that the same as palm wine?
Palm wine, yes.
That's it.
Yeah, he tried it.
That's lethal. Was he still standing after?
Well, he tried a little bit. He was like,
a quiet taste, that one. Gee whiz.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, that kind of neatly leads us on to maybe a final cheeky request for one last guitar.
One last song.
Perhaps.
Gosh, I've changed my mind on the last song. Well, actually, maybe not. I'll just give a snippet of Freetown. This song, I think I wrote it in 1987, and will be on my EP when I do it next. I've got a current EP, which is called Freetown: The Return.
Okay.
And this is gonna go on the album. So here we go. I'll just give you a snippet. I want to play the whole song.
Yes, gotta keep it.
I had a dream that day I came to see. That day will come to know your love inside of me. Hometown, Freetown, God has a plan. Get up and make that move to the land that we once knew. Give your heart and soul, give new life for all. Hometown, Freetown, God has a plan. So won't you play with me together in harmony? For as long as we've got love, reaching out to everyone, bringing them joy in life through the Son Jesus Christ.
Oh.
I have a captive audience here, just so you forgot.
Exactly. That was special. Oh, amazing. I do like that. I really did. So
Yeah, I'm going to charge them. I can't charge my production because he bought the lights, by the time I've paid for the hire of the guitar, I think right. I'll owe him.
I think you need to strike a deal.
I think so.
Your negotiation skills, Gwyn, are going to be called into question there. But I mean, on that musical note, in terms of the music scene, what next? Any collaborations on the horizon, perhaps?
Yeah. First of all, I've got to try and promote my current EP, which I haven't done, so my manager's on my case. After the gig at Pizza Express, which I did, last month, which is mostly my own music, so moving away from the Louis, doing my own music. So we need to promote that. Freetown: The Return. I've recorded 4 tunes. Once that's online and I've done all that, which I'm not very good at, then we'll do another 4 songs, which will complete the album. and we'll try and promote that. Collaborations, I was talking to Shireen Francis yesterday, because the bass player, Neville Malcolm, he knows what Shireen Francis is doing. She uses pan.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah, and I love pan. You know,
literally pan, like sauce
yes,
pan.
as in what do we call it? Steel drum,
yeah.
Steel drum, yeah. So she does that, you know, in her jazz and folk music. Yesterday we had a meeting because Neville plays bass for me and for her, and he says, you guys have got to do something together. So we've already started talking about collaboration.
Chevelle Francis.
Yeah, Shireen Francis.
Shireen Francis, okay.
Yeah.
And
you never know, I might call Bobby Brown up to see whether we can, you know.
You never know. He's been quiet these days, strangely enough. So I think
I'm bluffing. I don't have his number. I have Romesh's number, but he's not musical at all.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's something to look forward to, definitely. Any more?
Yeah, so look out for the album Freetown The Return and the collaboration, which I hope happens.
Will do, definitely. How have you found, just very quickly, I'm curious, because obviously you've been in the music industry for so long now. And, you know, I spoke about the CD that I got a couple of decades ago, I think. We've moved away from that format and now things are mostly online. You talk about
yes.
the new album. I mean, what's a new format going to be?
Well, my managers basically, you know, told me off to say, you know, you're slow on I don't even have Instagram.
You need to keep up. You need to.
This is how old school. I don't say old school. Pierre's laughing. Pierre's laughing.
Really?
I've got Facebook, which I'm on it like once every 3 months. I'm really bad, and my website goes down. I don't even notice that it's gone down. So my meeting with him was like literally cracking the whip. Right? Listen, you know, we need to do X, Y, Z. So yeah, that's
going to be an interesting one for you. Navigating to 21st.
In the next couple of months, you should be able to, you know, I'll be more savvy with all of that. But you want to check me out, yeah, Gwyn Jay Allen.
Okay.
.co.uk. That's GWYN JAY Allen ALLEN.co.uk. Okay. I think the website is up.
I checked it earlier on. Yeah, it seemed like it was up.
Thank God for that. But I need to send you the albums that you don't have, free ones. You've only got one, right?
I've only got that one.
Which is the I Love Louis.
Yes.
I'll send you the other two.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. And soon you'll be able to buy it online because they're going to put a shop on my website. All of that is what we've been talking about.
Yes. Well, this is what I was trying to get at. So for viewers who are interested, want to download your music or buy it, it'll be good.
Yeah. Give me a couple of weeks and buy it from me.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It'll better be to actually purchase it through your website as opposed to going to the stores.
Exactly.
So what are the alternative ways of buying the music aside from your website?
Oh, I think it's on Spotify. There's quite a few on Spotify. So if you just want to listen, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Apple has it, like my first album. I believe they might. This is how bad they might have my second album. I'm going to try and manage all of that. So
yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be including details of your website in the link below anyway, so people know how to reach you and to follow you. And yes, you know, normally at this stage we'll be saying what are your social media handles. So that Instagram, I think you're gonna have to look into it, and the Facebook, yeah.
Would you believe, like 3 days ago, I downloaded it on my phone.
I suppose that's a start, isn't it? At least you've got the app now.
It's still in the phone. I haven't done anything with it. Pierre was saying it's just in the phone. And he's right.
And yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Instagram, some would argue it's a whole lot more simplified. It's just like a shrinked down version of Facebook.
Right.
You can get snippets out there very quickly, you know, at a moment's notice, and you can reach millions.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the beauty of it. So you now, you just get your links and you literally just post it on your Instagram account. Before you know it, you're getting the likes and you're out there. You're going, you know.
I've promised. I promised him I'll do it. Please,
I would put in a personal plea. I believe it will do you much good, Mr. Allen.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you say?
I can stream all my gigs from Sierra Leone, he says.
Yeah.
See?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll give him the job to manage all my, if I can afford him.
I think so. The world's your oyster. Literally, that is how it's going now with social media.
It's true. It's true.
You don't need to be physically present anymore. Look at us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in
exactly.
the day, you had to be thinking of, meeting in a cafe somewhere.
Yeah.
But these days, it's taking care of all of that. Gwyn, it has been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really,
you've taken me back, and it's a good way to reflect, because you don't really sit and think about all of that only when you get interviews like this.
For sure, that's the beauty of it, and that's the beauty, I think, of expressing. And when it comes to those of us artists who are into creating,
right,
songs or writing, any of them, songwriting, writing books, it's a good way to. It allows you to reflect. It allows you to just practice some gratitude as well when you just
you don't take life for granted,
No, you don't.
And be thankful.
Every day. And I am truly and utterly thankful and grateful for this opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure, really.
I must tell you what my wife said after you made that first call. So you were chatting, she could just hear me chatting to you. And I put the phone on, and Kate said to me, says, you know what, you're quite serious. I'm the only one who doesn't take it serious. You're a celebrity. And I couldn't stop laughing. So I should take you more serious as an artist. It's like, what's this lady who's just calling you out of the blue, wants to interview you,
Because you are.
Yeah. You are. So, thanks for reminding me of, the little things that I've achieved.
No, not at all. And, it's not just your wife. I just get that sense that it's very easy for us in the community as well to take for granted. We just think, oh yeah, Gwyn, yeah, he's doing good. But I think when people get to hear the story, or snippets at least of the story, it reminds them of how far you've come and the things that you've achieved.
Yeah.
The people, the spaces you've occupied. That's something to behold, and it's something worth celebrating.
Amen to that.
I have my little platform. I've got my little following. I remember when I had my first follower on YouTube a couple of years ago, and I was really excited. But it's not, for me, it's not even so much about that, Gwyn. It's just having the space, the platform.
Exactly. And doing what you're meant to be doing. And that gives you fulfillment, which nobody can pay for. Big time. Yeah.
The rest is, as they say, that's like a bonus.
Yeah.
So even if just one person were to come back to me and say, Gwyn Allen, I've never heard of him. I think I'll go check out his music. For me, that's my job done.
There you go.
Because I'm opening a portal, into their world.
I won't disappoint. I'll get this Instagram going. I'll make sure this interview is well worth it.
It will.
I promise.
It will be. Wow. Gwyn, thank you so much. I know that you will be traveling in about 48 hours time, so I'm wishing you Godspeed. And I pray that all your future endeavors are blessed, and we wait fervently to hear when next you will be gracing us, on the screen, etc., etc.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. You take care.
And you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.